You're not the first person to have difficulty in the end of pregnancy, or just around pregnancy, but especially at the end when you start to get bigger, around gaining weight. It's like, it's hard to feel your body changing, and our culture, it doesn't help, right? Like, we have a lot of stuff that we hear all the time about, like, you have to snap back and blah, 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 blah. It's all, and the sooner you learn and accept that it's the better. I'm telling you, I've had 3 kids, and there are all these like unrealistic expectations in our culture around how things should go, how fast you should recover postpartum, how fast you should fit into your postpartum genes or your pre-pregnancy genes, how fast your baby should be sleeping independently. There are all these things that are expected that are not even biologically realistic. It's very, very common, and it totally impacts all of us on some level because we were raised in this culture. And even though like I went through like this deep hippie phase in my early 20s, and I was like, armpit hair, my body's perfect, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna care about any of that stuff. And I just fully put myself into this place of like, I'm perfect how I am, with like my leg hair and like all my hippie stuff. And I still struggle, like even being more in a community too that's like really supportive of different kinds of bodies, and like postpartum is like, it takes a while, and it's just a lot more like aligned with reality. I still struggle because I watched America's Next Top Model, and I like as a kid, and I, you know, like I got all this stuff kind of like deep inside me. And I think that paired with also just the reality of your body changing and how that can be difficult, can be hard. My first 2, I lost the baby weight pretty quickly, and I had gained 70 pounds in all my pregnancies. I just gained a lot of weight, and then I lose it, and that's the way my body does it. But with my 3rd, I gained a lot of weight, and I kept a lot of that weight. And you can kind of see even now I have a little bit of like puffiness in my face. And it's mostly, it doesn't for me have to do so much with like weight. It's actually more about my lymph. And I have this, like, I can't get my wedding ring off still. Like, I'm very puffy, and developed like some food intolerances, which has led to bloating. So most of like, I guess, weight stuff for me, it doesn't ever feel like weight. It's more about like my lymph and my digestive system. And that's because I just happened to develop like some autoimmune issues right after my 3rd birth, which is so rare. But sometimes I just will say that like weight gain or body changes after birth can be because we have this backup of fluid, and then our system, we don't get the right healing, or something happens and it's hard for our system to process out all that fluid. And there are lots of like different reasons why our body can have a harder time losing weight after pregnancy. But I will say that most of the time your body will, especially after the first, it does naturally over time, and it takes time. And if we align more with reality and like what is more biologically reasonable, and recognize like my body will change, and my body can go back to never exactly how it was before, but like it can go back to how we want it to be, and we can feel good about our body after we have our baby, and to really believe that is possible, and to take the steps to support yourself in feeling strong and tone and all of those things after you have your baby. You can totally take that path. But I'm hearing you say that like feeling strong and like toned and like you are at a weight that you feel comfortable with after you have your baby is important to you, which is 100% valid. And I also just want to acknowledge that the approach that you're taking, which is to eat less food, is not the way to get there. Instead, we want to focus totally on nutrition, like good quality, good nutrition, because it's not food that leads to weight gain specifically, and that's what I was trying to illuminate. There are other things that can impact, like we need to make a plan instead for how to have good nutrition throughout our pregnancy and recovery and breastfeeding, and what we're going to do to support our health and our well-being, so that our body and all the functions and parts of our body that need to happen for our recovery, for our body to feel like healthy and strong again, can happen. I find that like when it comes to weight specifically, if we can just shift the attention off of weight onto health, then like the weight takes care of itself. But if you just focus on like, I'm going to eat well and take care of my mental health and move in a way that brings me joy, like things just take care of themselves. You can tell your midwives like, the scale really triggers me. You know, and sometimes people will say when they go to their appointment, like, I'll stand on the scale and just, you can look over and get the number, but like, don't tell me the number. I don't want to see myself gaining weight. If I look down and I see that number, it's going to wig me out. So instead, like, could you just peek and write it down? And like, I don't even have to, you know what I mean? Because it really isn't about what's on the scale. Your midwife should be making sure that you're gaining the appropriate amount of weight. So someone should check your weight, but like, you don't have to know what it is. That might be a helpful approach. And I also want to validate that like living in our society is hard, and being a woman is hard when we go through pregnancy and birth, especially if there are people in our community that are celebrating thinness instead of celebrating health. What comes up for us on our journey in becoming mothers, I believe comes up because it's ready to be healed. And so our job, like when we notice things come up in ourselves, like I'm really triggered about weight gain or like whatever it is, it's just a part of you that is ready to heal and to be loved. And we do that just by witnessing the thing that comes up and validating it. That's all you have to do, especially in pregnancy. We don't have to like dig deep within ourselves and be like doing all this inner work and unpacking all this stuff. You don't have to be diving deep. All you really need to do is just naturally allow whatever comes up to come up and just validate. And so what that looks like is maybe you like have a moment where you're like, oh, the weight gain, you know, and you feel it. And then you stop and go like, okay, this is just a part of me that was told that XYZ would happen if I gain weight. I wouldn't be beautiful. I wouldn't be worthy, whatever it is. And she believed that because that's what she was told was the truth. And that's okay. It so makes sense that she's coming up now. It so makes sense that she's worried. It's okay to be worried about that. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay, whatever it is. You know, we're just seeing her, acknowledging where she comes from, and just validating her feelings. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And that's just loving yourself, right? You're just like responding instead of going into a subconscious pattern where you're not even consciously thinking of it. I'm going to pop the IFS podcast, which is an approach to overcoming fear in pregnancy. And it's so great. And I highly recommend you give that a listen. It's this idea that like we're made up of all these parts. In our psychology, there's a little girl in you. At some point in your life, someone told you like having a larger body is bad. This is such a reflection for me because I've also been doing a lot of this work too. And my mom had a lot of like shame on herself for having a larger body. And then I was like, oh no, I can't have a larger, like what if that happens to me? Like I felt that fear too. And recognizing that like, okay, this is just a part of you that was told this thing in the past. That wasn't okay. And what they told you wasn't true, you know, but like it makes sense that that's coming up for you now because you were told that. So we're just like recognizing that part of her and or that part of you, and then just validating. And that's all you have to do. And you're not going to be perfect at it. It's just an ongoing practice of like, this comes up for me and I notice it. First, we're developing the self-awareness. We're noticing it and we're just going, yeah, I feel worried. It's okay to feel worried. I love you. It's okay to feel worried. And we're still going to choose to eat. And those parts of you that can come up that have those fears, they can just be like witnessed, they can be loved, they can be validated, but they're not going to take over the steering wheel of your life because they don't know what's right for you. You can decide to break this cycle in yourself so that your daughter doesn't have to have the same kind of challenges. When she's older, if she gets pregnant, she can learn how to love her body, and she will learn how to love her body through you loving your body. I'm so careful about the way and so intentional about the way that I talk about my body in front of my daughter. One day, oh my gosh, I was on the trampoline with my kids. I was lying back in the trampoline, they're jumping all over me, and my daughter goes, Mama, your belly is really big. You look like you're pregnant. Like your belly's really big. And I was like, yeah, like sometimes your belly looks a little bigger after you have a baby. Postpartum bodies are beautiful. That's what I said. Even though on the inside I'm like, I know, I don't love it. But I just like responded to her in that way. And then she was like, oh, okay, you know, that's like the message she's getting from me. And she'll notice like any little conversation I have with my husband, the way I talk to myself, like she really notices this stuff. So I'm very, very careful, and I'm not going to be perfect at it. No, none of us are going to be perfect at it. And I'm not going to just like resolve it all immediately and then be like, it's dealt with. Like it's something that we have to continue to work with. But if you can just build a loving relationship with this part of you, just recognizing like what is coming up for you is just a little girl who wants to be loved and safe, and was told that if she had a larger body that she wouldn't be loved or worthy or safe or any of those things. And that's why she's worried. And if we can just have that compassion, engage these parts of ourselves with curiosity and with love, that's how we build relationships and self-awareness. And that's how we can overcome these challenges. Not like we're like getting them out of the way, but we're embracing them and learning to love them and integrating them and having that self-awareness. There is a book that I highly recommend all of you get. It's called 9 Golden Months by Heng, and she wrote a postpartum book as well, and I highly recommend everyone get that for postpartum. If you're going to get one, I would get the postpartum one because you need the recipes and the specific like traditional meal recipes so much more than in pregnancy. But if you're having a hard time getting the right nutrition, I would get that book, because that book, it will tell you exactly what to do in a way that's rooted in traditional Chinese medicine around pregnancy and postpartum, which is a modality that I highly align with. It's very potent. It can be so supportive for pregnancy specifically. So